my favorite myths that new parents come to me a lot with is that newborn babies don't know how to sleep and need to be taught to sleep, which is something that I think we hear in our culture a lot. It's actually, in my experience, completely untrue, because newborn babies do a lot of sleeping. And in fact, the first couple of weeks, a lot of parents are lulled into a false sense of security where they think, oh man, I got a baby who sleeps really well, I must be lucky. They do wake up and they do get fussier. But the most important thing to know about babies in sleep is just that they're basically acting on instinct. They're kind of in their animal nature in the early days, and they haven't adapted to this modern world that we've created. So for new parents, I think a lot of us need information about how newborns sleep, what's normal, and then how we can strategize around that so that everybody in the family gets the sleep that they need, not just babies, but the parents who have to function too. So newborn sleep is a hot topic, but basically it comes down to knowing what's normal and then strategizing around it. Another myth that I think a lot of new parents come to me with is that babies must be very fragile when they're first born. And if you watched nurses and doctors in hospitals, it's actually interesting. They don't handle the babies with extra care. There's a certain amount of care that we give to any newborn because they're tiny creatures and we want to take care of them. But they're actually pretty sturdy, and I think that a piece of impossible to follow advice that I hear that I love is to have the second baby first. Because by the time parents who go on to have more children get around to having the second child, they've realized that, oh, it's not just me who's keeping this baby alive. There's actually innate systems in place that help keep the baby alive too. It kind of releases some of the stress and worry, I think, for parents once they get to learn the fact that their baby can actually do pretty well if you do a few simple things for it while they're growing and developing. Another really good myth that parents learn quickly isn't true is that people like to say that babies eat every 3 to 4 hours, and whether you're breastfeeding or bottle feeding or doing a combination, it's really just not true. Newborn babies want to eat all the time. And I think that's the number one complaint I hear from new parents is, I don't understand why this baby's eating so much. But in fact, we know that since they digest it quickly, especially when it's breast milk, and since they have such small stomachs, they're designed to eat pretty frequently. And in those early days, parents learn pretty quickly that it's normal for babies to eat, first of all, not only frequently, but in an irregular way. They don't have internal clocks that tell them, oh, it's been 3 hours, I should eat. They're really eating when they get hungry, and sometimes they use up more energy more quickly and they may eat every hour, and other times they may get sleepier and sleep for several hours, so it's not a by the clock sort of thing in the early days. Certainly for breastfeeding, there is a rule of thumb that babies should be eating at least 8 times in 24 hours, and probably it's even better if it's more like 9 to 12 times in 24 hours, so to get the food into them that they need to grow. And for bottle-fed babies too, they're going to be eating about that many times in the early days when their stomachs are small and their capacity for holding food isn't very big. So that's generally what we look for when we're looking at how often new babies eat. It's less important how long it's been since the last feeding, and sometimes the number of times over 24 hours is more important.